Welcome to the Seize the Day weekly podcast, your connection to all things cruising, powered by Travel with Brigitte.
Hi, I'm Julie Williams from Travel with Brigitte with travel expert Karla Meza, as well as we have a treat today, the owner of Travel with Brigitte, third generation travel agent. Dan Koehler is with us today, the owner himself, because what we're going to do today is we're going to answer a bunch of common questions. And if you have a question that we don't answer, go ahead and put it in the comments below, and we'll add it to another podcast. So, Dan, you obviously, as a third generation cruise agent, travel agent, you have been cruising since you were a kid. So many people are afraid to take their kids on cruises because kids won't enjoy it. You know, they're not old enough to enjoy it, or they'll be bored, or we won't be able to do anything if we have the kids with us. How would you say the experience is of traveling with a child or children, and how does it enhance their life's experience, their education, their life in general?
Yeah, so that's, I have been traveling since I was a kid. I believe I was about 12 or 13 when I took my first cruise, but more recently, I've also taken a lot of cruises where I've seen kids, talked to parents, and, booked kids. We book hundreds and hundreds of families a year on sailings, and being able to advise on what the kids are going to be able to experience and like is part of the role. So people that say that the kids won't enjoy it, that really comes down to itinerary and ship selection. I wouldn't take a toddler on the transatlantic Queen Mary 2.
Oh yeah.
7 days straight ocean, point A to B. I would take, toddlers to the Bahamas or Caribbean or Mexican Riviera, even Alaska. Alaska is a great trip for families in the summertime as well. Very easy itineraries to access from just about anywhere in the U.S. And most of the ships doing these itineraries have great kids activities. They've got the playrooms. They've got the kids club, not daycare. It's really a kids club. You go and hang out with people in your own age groups. Depending on what those age groups are, they'll have blocks and coloring, or video game tournaments, or pickleball and basketball tournaments, sporting events. It really is a place where there's something for all ages. So very, very well designed, age appropriate activities.
Can I trust my child to someone I don't know like that?
So that's a subjective question for all parents. The cruise line employees are very thoroughly vetted. Most of the child care employees have gone through extensive training. You don't know if someone's a bad apple until they're a bad apple. So just like any daycare, any school, any police officer, you don't know who is a good person until they show that they're not. So I would say, yes, they are very thoroughly vetted, very closely monitored. Cruise ships have the most robust camera security systems of any public areas, cruise ships and casinos, more cameras than anything else on Earth. I would say it's safe. There's very, very, very rarely ever an incident.
Yeah, I've never heard of one, actually. Anything really negative about a child. I took my son, which I think might have been his first cruise, when he was 12. And so he didn't go into like a child care or a kids club. I think they had a teens club. But one of the things that I did is we went to Ensenada, among other places, and they had some severe crime warnings. And I felt comfortable not letting him get off the ship, leaving him on the ship to just go ahead and have fun, but he was 12, while I went off on the excursion. So there's always that option. Of course, depending on how mature your child is. Mine was very mature and capable of taking care of himself for years, even before that. But that's also a thought.
Yeah, and that can be done, and a lot of the times it's going to depend on your ages. You can't necessarily leave your 3-year-old in the cruise, the club, the daycare, and get off the ship, you would want to have them with you. However, you can put them in there and go to your spa, spend the night spend the day at the pool, your specialty dining events, go to the club, things like that. A lot of them even have late night childcare as a paid add-on, and it's negligible. It's like $10 or $12 an hour or something to have your kid from like 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. So if you are a parent who wants to do some of those night style activities, you can, and still have them safe and in a productive place.
So, what if I wanted to go on a scuba diving excursion? So obviously I'm not going to take my child with me. So what would I do? Do they have any private babysitters that you can hire? Or would you say in certain circumstances, you would leave the child in, with the activities?
So it's going to depend on the age of the kid for sure, and different cruise lines will have different policies and handle it. So that's a situation where you will definitively want to let your travel agent know, hey, I'm a scuba diver, I'm traveling solo with my child, they can't scuba dive. What's our best option? It may be that they go with you and hang out on the boat. And whatever, if you're assuming you're scuba diving from a ship, from a boat, something, if you're comfortable with that, that may be an option. But that's something that's going to be very subjective to the parents. I've seen some people on cruises where the kid's a teenager and their parent is hovering over them. And I've seen others where you've got 6 and 7-year-olds just running wild and doing their own thing. And it's if they're able to handle it and they're not disrupting others, more power to you.
Karla, I've got one for you. I've heard that the best cabins book up first. What are the best cabins, and what are the advantages of each different kind of cabin? Because I'm sure that's different if you're going solo or as a couple or with children.
Yes. So it's all going to be based on personal preference. So it really depends on a few things. One of the first things that I like to ask and to get an idea of with the client, is this your first cruise? And have you been on a ship or a boat or some kind of, vessel in the water? And how are you with motion sickness? Because that is the major one that will determine what deck you want to be in, if you would like to be towards the front, towards the back, or just smack in the middle. So if that is an issue, we're usually going to want to be on a lower deck, right in the middle. That's my preference. But then you can still determine whether or not you want an interior room or you want a balcony, which why wouldn't you want a balcony? But the second thing as well is how you want to spend your time on a cruise. I have a client that her answer is wherever I'm closest to the casino. That's where to be. Some clients might be wherever I'm closest to the buffet. I want to be the first one in line. Someone else, it might be out. I want to be closest to the pool. I want to get all my chairs as soon as I wake up. So it's mainly based on personal preference.
So if I'm traveling with the child, is it safe to get a balcony cabin?
Yes, it is safe. Like any other, especially how we were just speaking, it's very subjective to your child and how you can trust them and how they behave. If, I have a 3.5-year-old, he has yet to be on a cruise for some of the reasons Dan said. I'm not there yet to, sign him up for the kids club, but the peace of mind at his age is you do have to go sign in and you do have to sign them out. He's not a teenager. He doesn't just get to come and go.
Right.
But as far as safety, yes, it is safe. You just have to always keep an eye on them. And again, it's based on the trust you have between your child and their habits.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
a lot of parents, sorry to chime in here, a lot of parents think having a balcony is dangerous, the kids could fall off. No one falls off of a cruise. The media reports it, but no one falls off. They climb 3.5 feet up a ledge and they're hanging off taking pictures, or completely inebriated. If you're going to get a balcony cabin and travel with your child, your child better than anyone else. as long as they're aware, and if they're at a young age, I wouldn't have them out there unsupervised, but no one's going to accidentally slip through the cracks and fall off. That just isn't physically capable with the way that the ships are structured. And another point on the best cabins getting sold first or picked up first, there's categories like we were talking about, balconies being great, and then locations, but sometimes there are better balconies than others. A lot of ships, when you're looking at the deck plan, you'll see there's like a bulge or a bubble where that balcony is the same price as the one next to it, or the one three spaces down, but because you selected that one, you have an extra 2 feet of balcony on this side, or it's angled so you can sit there and look all the way down the ship and get much better views. So that's one of the reasons it's so important to consult with your travel agent in location of your cabin, because so often we've seen people in community groups or people that have come to us after the fact, hey, I booked direct 6 months ago, but can you help me move my cabin? And in that case, we actually can't access the booking because it didn't come through us. But like, well, I accidentally booked myself under the pool deck. That's unfortunate. I've had a cabin under the pool deck when I booked a GTY, a guaranteed category cabin, and it was definitely an early wake up when the deck crew's out there lining up all the chairs every morning and putting them away every night. So a lot of factors go into play that people don't necessarily think about. And when they go online to book themselves, or they pull up the app, or they're looking at some, cruise website that popped up an ad that they think is going to be viable, and they book it, but they didn't do deck plan review, they didn't select the cabin, they get guaranteed category, meaning the cruise line's going to put them where they want to, close to the time of sailing. That means you get put in the cabin that was left over.
That was my next question. If I'm choosing my cabin, is that what a guaranteed cabin is? Like I booked, 350, I'm guaranteed to be in there, but that's a totally different thing.
Yeah, no, if you book a cabin number, you are in that cabin number, barring a catastrophic mechanical incident, at which point the cruise line will work to move you. If you book guaranteed category, you don't have a cabin number. You're told, hey, I'm paying this much for a balcony. You might not even know what cabin you're in until you get on the ship. And in extreme cases, and this is rare, I'm not trying to scare people, in extreme cases, sometimes you get to port and they don't have a cabin for you. Yeah, so guaranteed is actually not guaranteed.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, it's a reserved, we want and should have this, but there are extreme cases where cruise lines oversell because they know a certain percentage of people don't make it to port, they miss flights, they oversell a little bit, especially at peak times. And if the stars align and everyone's flights come in and they are at over capacity, there's a problem. Now, of course, they try to make recompense, and usually they'll refund you and comp you another cruise. It depends on the cruise line, but it's not really convenient when you fly halfway across the country to be told, oh, oopsie, these people are getting your cabin instead because they booked for, XYZ reasons.
Wow. Okay, so it sounds like what you're saying is that it's really best. It isn't your first option to book somebody on a guaranteed cabin.
No.
Is there any circumstance when you would book them on a guaranteed cabin?
Sure. I mean, if the customer knows the risks and their main goal is cost savings, and if they're not really concerned about where the cabin is, for me, I've cruised enough times in the last couple of years that I would be comfortable picking up a guaranteed cabin. I don't get, motion issues. I'm fully able-bodied. I can walk the entire ship, up and down the stairs, elevators. It doesn't really matter to me where I'm placed. So if it's a significant cost savings, I personally, would be open to a guaranteed cabin. Usually it's not that much. Usually it's maybe, $10 or $20 a day per person difference. But all that you wanna discuss with your travel agent. I also usually book solo. So I look for sailings that are reduced single supplement, which is another factor as well. everyone kind of believes if you cruise solo, you're always paying double. Well, traditionally, that's the party line, but there are exceptions to that, and that's where your travel agent will find them for you. So I do, and I have booked guaranteed category, and that's where I ended up under the pool deck. It wasn't a deal breaker for me. However, for someone for maybe their first cruise or they're introducing someone to cruising, I would recommend not exposing them to the risk of a guaranteed category unless they just want straight low cost budget cruise.
Yeah, another reason to definitely use a travel advisor. So, Karla, if I wanted to book, let's say, directly with the cruise line, a lot of people who are maybe have loyalty rewards are going to do that because they think that they'll get a better deal. Will you get a cheaper price going through the cruise line directly?
No, I won't say that you'll get a cheaper price. You know, we have access to a lot of different rates that the cruise line also offers, but they don't offer it directly. They offer it to travel agents. So that's where the benefit is coming through us. And if you do have a loyalty status, that we can still work with that. We still ask for your number. You still get all the perks that you would if you called directly. You just get your personal concierge service with us, as well as a deeper dive into all the available rates that are only available for us.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is if I go on to book it myself, I will see specials, but I won't see all of the specials. Whereas you know of all of the specials that aren't being advertised at the moment and all of the ones that have benefits and perks.
Right. And you have to also think about it this way. The cruise line is going to promote the offers that benefit them the most at that time. That's why they're pushing them. We are going to offer you the rates and the specials that are going to benefit you the most.
Okay. Yeah, and I've heard nightmares about, when something goes wrong, and someone has to try to figure it out themselves. I mean, it's as bad as identity theft. It takes hours and hours to get through to somebody and then to have it fixed. Whereas I've heard about travel agents basically saving the day.
Yes. I mean, again, I think, wasting your time is just as frustrating as wasting your money. So if you can have a travel agent on your team, taking care of that for you, that's a huge, stress relief. And just, you don't want to have that type of negative impact already on your vacation that you're trying to plan, some fun time away, and you're already having sour feelings because of the process that it took to get there.
Yeah, I don't know this, but I would assume that the cruise lines would be more responsive to somebody who they know because they're booking people all the time than just someone that happens to call in on an 800 number.
Right.
Yeah. I'll chime in here.
Say the same thing I am. Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely can. Most travel agencies have back-end phone numbers that get to a special support team. Additionally, a lot of the stuff we don't have to call in. We have direct access to the booking portal. So all the time in Facebook groups, I see someone say, "Oh, I just spent 45 minutes on hold, but I got my dining time changed." Like, that could have been a text message. That could have been an email to us. Hey, can you change my dining to late? 15, 30 seconds of your time, and our team can handle that. And when there is escalations that need to happen, we have business development managers with the cruise lines, which is someone who is well beyond the scope of what customer service can do for you. You've got to realize these cruise lines, they're mega corporations. So when you call in, you're talking with tier 1 customer service whose only job is to pacify you and get you off the phone, not even necessarily resolve your issue, but pacify you and get you off the phone. And then if there is a problem or a concern, you have to put in an escalation, call multiple times, get, a customer service supervisor to possibly get you to a manager, or work with post-cruise resolutions. And it's hours and hours and hours of hoops to jump through. Whereas through an agency, and it may vary based on the volume that your travel agent does. Not all travel agents will know who their BDM is. Some of them do very low volume. Some of them are part of mega corporations themselves, MLM or pyramid agencies, things like that. But with us, if there's an escalation that needs to happen, I can text my business development manager, hey, here's the 60-second rundown. Let's jump on a call and figure it out. Or sometimes they'll find issues and reach out to us proactively. We had an email from one of the client services managers 2 days ago from Windstar Cruises. Guy reached out and said, hey, customer contacted us regarding this. Let's sync so that we can get on the same page and best serve them. That's awesome. You as the direct customer won't ever get that.
Right.
That's not a thing that happens. And even if you work with the cruise line specific internal agents, a lot of cruise lines have their own dedicated internal agents, which is a great resource, but they are still employees of the mega corporation working for the mega corporation's bottom line. Whereas your travel agent, whoever it is, works for you, and hold them accountable. Keep their quality up. Now, there's a lot of travel agents out there who do not exude excellence in their operations, and a little bit of due diligence in selecting the right one will get you thousands of dollars in benefits over the years of cruising.
I get your emails, so I know that you book a lot of group cruises and that the rates are really good. So can you explain to us what the group rates are and what the benefits are of traveling in a group? And can I call up the cruise line and you get the group rate or start a group?
Yeah. So a couple of questions in there. Yes, those group rates are exceptional. Usually group rates are things that are established a couple years in advance. As soon as a sailing is announced, ourselves and our consortia partners will establish group rates on these sailings so that years down the line, we can put individual customer bookings into group rates, which is why oftentimes customers go onto the website and it's, $2,000 for your cruise. We have it for $1,700 plus 200 onboard credit. Well, it's not that we're doing anything to particularly undercut the market, offer. It's that we set these rates 2 years ago. We locked them in back then, and because you're coming to us, we can put you in there. That's not something that you can access by calling the cruise line and saying, hey, this group that was established by, this consortia 2 years ago, can you put me in there? They'll tell you no. They want their revenue. To the other aspect of your question, technically you could call them up and say, I want to establish a group. I have a family reunion or Boy Scouts meeting, or, the church is doing this event and we want a cruise. I want 20 cabins. You can do that. However, you'll be establishing the group at market group rates at the time of contact. Now, if you do that years in advance, that can be beneficial. The caveat there is you're still not going to get everything your travel agent can get you.
Right.
Travel agents have access to more options, peripheral partnerships, better bundles. There is stuff that we get that the cruise line directly does not have, including the cruise line internal agents. And that's just the fact of the matter. There's no circumventing that because that is contractually in place. Everything that the cruise line can offer the customer, we can offer them. Plus, we can offer them other stuff that the cruise line doesn't have.
Right. And you don't, the client, the traveler, you do not have to do all the legwork because there's always some changes or somebody that needs help with their own booking. And the travel agent does that and doesn't charge anything. You don't pay any more when you use a travel agent than you would pay if you didn't. Coming up, when is the best time to book? But first, as Dan was saying, booking 2 years ago might be to your advantage. By the way, here's an upcoming cruise that we have at Travel with Brigitte. If you're interested, it's in June of 2026. It's the amazing Alaska Adventure Inside Passage cruise on the Royal Princess out of Seattle. And there are perks like $50 onboard credit. And that can go to just about anything that you want to do on board, whether it be dining or the shops, whatever you want to do. And right now, there's no risk if you want to put down a deposit. And one of our travel agents, Janice, is actually going to be on that cruise, and she can give you all the information you need. If you would like to book this cruise, go ahead and email bookings@travelwithbrigitte.com. Bookings@travelwithbrigitte.com. It's right there on your screen. Okay. And she'll monitor the price too. So if it should go down, you'll know about it. This is the Seize the Day podcast. I'm Julie Williams, along with Karla Meza and Travel with Brigitte owner, third generation travel agent, Dan Koehler. Like and subscribe to this podcast. And as always, you can leave a comment. We absolutely look forward to reading your comments. And especially if you have a question that we didn't happen to answer today, go ahead and put it in the comments. So let's talk about that, Karla. When is the best time to book? I mean, Dan had mentioned 2 years ago. Is that always the case?
It's not always the case, but like most things, if you can book as far in advance as possible, it is better. One, usually it will be a lower price. Two, with most cruise lines, all you have to do is pay your deposit at the time of booking, and then you have a date, usually somewhere around, well, depending on the cruise line, maybe 2 to 4 months before your actual sailing date that you need to make your final payment. So there's no scheduling in between, as far as the cruise line telling you, oh, you need to pay, an additional $200 every month. But as far as, yourself and planning, that's very beneficial to some people if they can tell themselves, okay, I have a year to make these staggered payments.
Right.
So that's very helpful. But
right. And you can save up.
Exactly. And another point, as well as how you were saying, Janice keeps an eye on whether or not the prices fluctuate. That gives your travel agent as well time within that, if you booked a year in advance, within that year, again, if it does fluctuate, we can make sure that if the price lowers, we can get you that price.
And how far in advance do the cruise lines open up the bookings where you can start scheduling?
Up to 2 years, 2 to 3 years. I'm actually, we just established a group rate for a February 2027 cruise for a 50th birthday party. Yes. So, and yeah, I believe we are doing that with Princess, and I believe they have their entire 2027 year already established.
That's cool. Okay, Dan, we had briefly touched earlier on the when we were talking about the best cabin, if you maybe are someone who gets seasick. Some of the concerns I hear are about seasickness, are about claustrophobia if you're getting an inside cabin, because there's not like a whole lot of things you can do once you're on the ship and in the cabin. And some people, I know one lady who's afraid of water, so she always gets an inside cabin. And then some people like maybe can't swim and they're worried about going on a cruise ship because of that. What would you say to those concerns?
So on the claustrophobia side, that is a very impairing, I don't want to say disease condition. That's something that customers with those concerns should absolutely communicate that to their travel agent. I would say get at least an ocean view so you have some of that outside light. Some ocean views are not all the same. Some are just a porthole. Some are a big picture window. Try and get one with a little bit more light, or a balcony so you can open the door and actually get some fresh air through there. For those who want an inside cabin but are concerned about the lights, they have natural daylight alarm clock systems where at a certain time it'll start ramping up a daylight mimicking light to kind of give you some of that feel of a natural light coming in. So that is something that is impactful. I believe Emma Cruises has one of those that she takes with her on her traveling in the inside cabins. Regarding things such as like the motion sickness, a lot of people don't realize how stable cruise ships are. They may have been on a boat in the lake sometime, or they've gone on a fishing trip or been on a ferry. You've got to realize that those are very, very, very small ships. Cruise ships are not. They are very stable. Now, weather does happen. You do see the occasional posting of, oh, the chandelier swaying, or, oh, this drink fell off the table because, we hit a rough patch and something, it can happen, but it's not nearly the substantial motion that people expect. Usually it's less so than, you feel in a car, motion wise. And for people that are afraid to swim, don't swim. There's pools on the ship, there's, beaches and stuff, but your ship's not going to go down. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of cruise ships and cruises a year that go through without incidents. If there was an emergency, the cruise staff are very highly trained. You go through safety briefings. You have enclosed lifeboats to be in. You don't have to get wet outside of the shower. You don't even have to shower, but that's on you. But no, there's nothing that says you have to get in the pool. You don't have to get in the hot tub. You don't have to go in the ocean. Lately on a lot of my sailings, I've been doing more cultural stuff. I haven't been swimming and snorkeling and doing a lot on the beach. I've been climbing through the Mayan ruins and, scaling the pyramid or the ziggurats out there, and doing the wildlife excursions in Honduras. I love hanging out with the monkeys. So you don't have to do anything that you're not comfortable with. I wouldn't let fear of swimming or fear of water dissuade you, because you don't have to be in the water and the ship's not going to go down.
Mm-hmm. So that can be debilitating. What about other things like physical disabilities that somebody might have, like they need a wheelchair, or they need mobility assistance, or they need to have an accessible cabin? What advice do you have for that person?
So accessible cabins do book up quickly. So book early, as soon as possible. Get your travel agent on it, find what's available. Additionally, there are multiple resources out there that travel agents have to align rental equipment for you. Oftentimes, if you need, say, a mobility scooter, or maybe you don't need it day to day, but you're going on a trip and you really need it for exploring, we can get that set up. We can set up a rental, and it'll be waiting for you either in your cruise cabin, sometimes right outside the hall, sometimes a designated area, depends on the port and the cruise line. But we can have that arranged and waiting for you to be available when you get there. There are cabins that have roll-in bathrooms, roll-in showers, fully accessible, ambulatory accessible. There's ample opportunities and options for you. In fact, in some cases, you can even schedule cruises and get dialysis
Wow.
during your sailing. It's not cheap. It's
Oh, yeah.
expensive because you have to have, medical professional with you to get serviced. Now, there are home dialysis machines that people actually have been getting on take, but that would be at your own risk, your own discretion. People with CPAP machines, you can get distilled water, email your travel agent, we'll set it up. We'll have distilled water delivered to your room and available for you.
Awesome.
It's everything goes through your travel agent. I mean, I can't say that enough. There's options. We can get that sorted out, and you're not the only one who's dealt with it. We've worked with it before, so let us know.
Wow, you guys stay busy. Okay, so I've got one more question for each of you to answer, and that is, let's start with you, Karla. Is there anything else that you would add that a prospective cruiser, even a repeat cruiser, would like to know?
I would add that when booking and getting excited and we expect everything to go right, we should still be talking about travel insurance, just in case. That's the most important item that we could add on, that most people say, I think I'll be fine. But you never know. You never know if you're going to be fine. And if we're going through all this effort to plan, this great time you want to have, we want to insure it.
Well, where do I buy travel insurance, and how do I know I'm getting insurance? I automatically think, yeah, right. They're going to be there when I need them. Yeah, right. We've been there, done that before, right? How do I know I'm getting a good policy? Where do I buy it? And is it expensive?
Well, the great part about working with the travel agency is that we are not exclusive to one travel insurance company. We have partnerships with multiple that provide different tiers and different coverages. So depending on the length of your trip, the expenses that you're, the dollar amount that you're getting to, that will all determine what kind of coverage you need and what company provides that at the best rate for you and your budget.
Okay, so is this
And
something
we can do all of that work and research for you.
Is this something I need to do by the trip, or is it something I need to do like for a certain time frame, or is it indefinite? How does that work?
The best time to do it is after booking, because the sooner you have it in place, if something pops up, you're covered. But if you say, oh, I'm going to do it, the month before sailing, but 2 months before sailing, there's an issue, well, you're not insured. You're not covered for those issues.
Okay.
So I would
Dan,
say that's my piece.
Dan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, so on the travel insurance topic right there, depending on your state of residency, there's also substantial bonuses for booking your insurance within 14 or 21 days of your deposit. So that's things like pre-existing conditions coverage. And that is very helpful. A lot of people say, well, I need to go get, these mythical cancel for any reason policies. Mm-hmm. There's some that phrase themselves like that, but that actually doesn't exist. And then there's some that are like, well, you can, but it's not a full reimbursement. It's, 60% or 75%. But when you book within the specified timeline, if you have a medical issue and the time you book the insurance is within that 14 or 21 days, and at the time that you book that insurance, you are fit to travel, then it's covered. So let's say you have a, kidney or liver disease or a heart issue, and you book your cruise a year and a half in advance, and you're good when you book it. And 17 months down the line, all of a sudden I need surgery or something, you're covered. Whereas if you waited outside that period, you don't have the pre-existing conditions coverage, and all of a sudden you're not. Now, mm-hmm. The other thing on the travel insurance that people often say is, oh, no, I don't need it. I'm not going to cancel.
Okay.
That doesn't matter. It's not about if you're going to cancel. Frankly, I don't care about the money you spent on the trip. I care about you getting injured or stranded or hurt in a foreign country, because the couple $1,000s for your cruise is negligible. That doesn't matter. That's going to trigger some people emotionally. Your money doesn't matter. What matters is the $40 or $50 or $60,000 that you don't have in your pocket when you fall and break a leg and you're getting surgery in Colombia, and God forbid you went without a passport book because you can't fly home. I believe Colombia is one of the countries that mandates it, but let's say Honduras or Mexico or anywhere there, they say you don't need your passport book. You do. Don't leave your country without a passport book. But if you have a medical incident or even just a traffic jam and you miss you miss getting back on the ship, you're stuck there. And you're stuck paying your costs out of pocket to get to the next port or to get home. And if you went without your passport book, you went without travel insurance, that's extremely costly. You have to go to the embassy, jump through a bunch of hoops to get a passport so that you can fly home, and foot the bill for all of that.
Wow. This has been very, very enlightening. If you have a question that we didn't answer, be sure to add it to the comments below, and be sure to click that like button and subscribe, because coming up, we are going to, in the following weeks, take a deep dive into which cruise line is right for you, because all the cruise lines are a little bit different. So we'll kind of look right into that so you can make a really good decision with your travel agent about what cruises you should go for. We are Karla and Julie, along with Travel with Brigitte owner Dan Koehler today. Until next time, seize the day.
You've been listening to the Seize the Day podcast, powered by Travel with Brigitte. If you like what you heard, please like and subscribe. And as always, feel free to ask us anything in the comments section. We love to hear from you. Or email us at bookings@travelwithbrigitte.com. Till next time, seize the day.